This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
So this is where, again, we kind of get into this whole feed conversion efficiency idea. And this is, again, one of those things that if you read some of the popular press articles about beef that are cast in more of a negative light, usually they focus in on this as one of those issues, right? That we're using a lot of natural resources. Beef produces or uses more feed per pound of gain as compared to pigs and chickens. Therefore, the world would be better off if we just had these monogastric animals, right? So we'll kind of walk through this, and mainly this exercise is just to show you that feed conversion efficiency, which is better, right, in terms of which species, really depends on how you're expressing it, okay? And this is very true in all things that are sustainability, as the metric you choose really changes how things are ranked, right? There's lots of ways to express things. So this is feed conversion efficiency expressed in three ways. So the first column there is just pounds of feed dry matter per pound of product, okay, per pound of, live weight gain, okay? So we have our U.S. average grain finished beef, and this is from some of our life cycle assessment work. So this is that same 22 number, but just expressed per live weight in this instance, okay? Compared to broiler chickens compared to pork. So again, most people stop at this first column, right, that's in black, and say, wow, look at that difference in dry matter feed conversion efficiency, right? And again, this is a life cycle number for beef, right? If that was your feedlot feed conversion efficiency, you'd have some problems, right? But this is a life cycle number. But what's important is that's not taking into account what we just said before, right? The fact that most of what cattle are eating is not in competition with the human food supply. And really, this is where this whole feed conversion efficiency argument comes from, right? That we're taking resources, taking food out of the mouths of babes, right, and feeding it to livestock, and that's a bad situation. So how much of that feed is actually human edible, right? So corn or soy, okay? And obviously most of us wouldn't want to eat a corn-soy mixture, but if we had to, we could, right? So it is human edible material. So when we express feed conversion efficiency in that way, that's what that second column is, right? Those differences across the three species largely go away, right? So roughly about the same amount of human edible feed going to produce live weight gain for all three species. What's different, of course, is what we just talked about with this essential amino acids, right? Pigs and chickens, like us, they need to eat those essential amino acids every day, right? They cannot synthesize them within their rumen like cattle do, right, and essentially rely on microbial protein to meet their protein needs. So that's really important because pigs and chickens are going to be eating more high-quality protein, meaning soy, right, soy-based products, compared to cattle, which eat very little or no soy on average across the United States. So that's key for this third column. Okay, so this is kind of a little bit of a weird concept at first, but this is essentially expressing feed conversion efficiency in a way that's saying, what is the value of the protein in the product? Okay, so beef, pork, or chicken. And value, I don't just mean dollar value, I mean this protein equation, right? Essential amino acids and how bioavailable it is, compared to the same thing in the feed. Okay, so in this case, a higher number is better. So what you can see in the parentheses is I've kind of put there, right, a value above 1 means we're actually generating more high-quality protein than is being used within that system, right? So these cattle are creating high-quality protein that would not exist without them, even though we're feeding them in this human and edible feed, or edible feed. So those differences from beef compared to pork and chicken, kind of twofold, right? One is, again, this issue that we're not feeding high-quality protein to cattle necessarily, and that's why that number is lower for pigs and chickens, right? Because they're feeding more high-quality essential amino acids, and therefore that ratio is lower. The other thing is, obviously, I work for beef, right? So I'm not going to make pork and chicken look better in this scenario. This is kind of a joke, right? But it is true, right, that there are distinct differences. So the whole takeaway of this is that feed conversion efficiency really depends on what you choose, right? What are you prioritizing in terms of the numerator and the denominator, right? And I would argue that third column is actually more useful from a sustainability perspective because it's getting at what we care about, which is how we're going to feed 10 billion people, nourish 10 billion people in the future responsibly.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if your cattle get out, you could be held liable for that? Call me, let's have a discussion. 316-945-6733.